Our main idea is not about any antagonism between these two different strands, if you like, or two different teachings called shamanism and yoga. We don't see them as antagonistic if they are understood in their holistic perspective. So we're going to explore a contrast. What is the difference and how do they relate with each other? But also a little bit about where they go wrong as well, because when things are taken out of context, yoga is taken out of India, and shamanism originated in Siberia kind of region of Europe in the 1600s was the first time the term was used, and taken out of context and then used as a label for other practices in other corners of the world that seem to be similar, but then taken out of those environments and taken into Europe in little bits and pieces, packaged into workshops and so on and so on. Things taken out of context, there's a danger that they go a bit funny. And that's as much yoga as shamanism and anything else actually taken out of context. A modern day, let's say a traditional Chinese acupuncture practitioner from China might be horrified to see how it's being practiced today in Europe and so on. Yeah, this could happen in different traditions. So we're not claiming any expertise either. We are primarily yoga practitioners and students and teachers. So that's our main area of experience.
But also the way yoga was brought to the West and the tradition of yoga that we practice, Kundalini Yoga, our master Yogi Bhajan went to extreme lengths to explain what else goes with yoga practice and technology, what lifestyle is required, and to keep it pure and to keep it, to make it effective and sustainable, and not just going off on a tangent on one aspect of it. So it's important to respect the integrity of any tradition. This we both feel very strongly about.
Our sense also in terms of then what's the bridge or what's the common ground, there are several factors of that, but primarily we would put the human being actually as the meeting point between these different traditions. We are aware of certain trends in terms of the use of psychotropic plant medicines, and very popular around Europe and America in these days, and it's not our emphasis to especially talk just about that, but it needs to be talked about, so we recognize it will be part of the conversation. There'll be different points of view in the room. We're open to discussion, to hear each other. We're not here to say anything is right or wrong necessarily. Everything has its own consequence, and there's no judgment on any of it. But we are also clear that the regular use of psychotropic plants, one, out of original context and the integrity of the whole lifestyle of the shaman life, and at the same time regular use of that method of generating experience is contrary to regular practice of Kundalini Yoga. So we're also quite clear of the non-compatibility of an ongoing use of these two things. But that's not meaning the non-compatibility of shamanism as a whole and yoga as a whole, but this particular phenomena of so-called plant medicine usage in the way that it's unfolding in the West is not compatible with the regular practice of Kundalini Yoga. And we're open to have you ask questions and help to understand why we might say that, okay? If that's what needs to happen. So you're also here with your own queries, curiosities, and again, we're not professing to have all the answers, but we feel we can manage a healthy conversation together and wish that each of you get what you need to get out of that conversation. Okay?
I understand some of you will have knowledge that we don't have, so we're very happy for you to share what knowledge and experience you have that may illuminate this conversation. But when you are referring to plant medicine, I think it's a little bit unfortunate to use that term. Medicine is a whole system of healing, and we have herbal medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese traditional medicine, Orthodox Western medicine. So I understand, so you tell me that in recent years we're talking about plant medicine being restricted to 1 or 2 or 3 plants. I think that's very unfortunate, and the misuse of the term plant medicine, which should be herbal medicine, which includes 32,000 species of plants. Yes.
I just wondered, because I don't really know a lot on it, but I've seen the name come up a few times, and I wondered, what do you know about ayahuasca, and what's your thoughts on it?
Okay.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
But very simply, we're not necessarily saying we know a lot about it. It's a combination of certain plants put together, and people are having in California like ayahuasca parties every weekend, and is one of several psychotropic or mind and mood altering things which people are taking. They're calling it plant medicine or other terms, and it may be very eye-opening, very do things for your consciousness, and for some people it's even been a doorway to, oh, how can I make this real and generate that experience for myself, and they may turn to yoga to do that. So for some people it's been a doorway to yoga. However, I've had to counsel people who've ended up in psychiatric hospitals because of trips to South America and coming back in very unstable conditions and needing years to restabilize themselves. So therefore, we are saying very simply, as if you are a regular practitioner of yoga and you're choosing that as your primary path of personal development, taking into account the spirit, it is not compatible with the regular use of so-called psychotropic mood-altering substances, whether that's marijuana or ayahuasca or peyote or mushrooms or cocaine or heroin or whatever other major mood-altering substances that people are using. Okay? That is not compatible to regular use of yoga practice, where you are generating by your own practice your experience within you, and you're not using this exterior agent to generate that change. When you use exterior agent on a regular basis, you should go with, as Sati said, the integrity of the whole practice environment from where it came from. It should go as that. Otherwise, you're taking this thing out of context and you're not being guided appropriately as to how you use it, and it's not integrated into the rest of your life and your patients. So basically, we're just saying it's not a compatible practice, and we strongly don't recommend it. We're not saying we don't recommend you going to Peru or going to any weekend ayahuasca ceremony. Just be conscious that somebody in London was running a weekend of Kundalini Yoga and ayahuasca ceremony, and I had to tell the teacher, she was asking me, is it okay, can I do this? I said, you can do it, but you have a responsibility to tell people that if they've just been taking some strong mood-altering substances, and then you're going to go and start to generate a lot of other work in your nervous system and your neurons and your glandular system through yoga, you've got two very different forces clashing inside of you. And you as a teacher have to say, I'm not responsible for the consequence of you choosing in the same weekend to put these two very different ingredients into your life, whatever happens. If you're comfortable in saying that before you teach your class at that weekend workshop, go ahead. And if you're not, maybe you shouldn't go and teach there. Because from our tradition, it's not matching. It doesn't match. It doesn't make sense. We're not saying it's wrong to do it. Do whatever you want to do, have whatever consequence you have. We have a duty as trainers, not as teachers, trainers of Kundalini Yoga teachers, to make it very clear there's no way that this sits together, and there's nothing in our Master of Yogi Bhajan's teachings, and you can check it. It's called Library of Teachings online, and there's thousands of lectures from him, all the way from the 70s when he first started teaching, right through to 2004 when he passed away, and there's nothing in there that will support, and there is clear indications that he's saying, in fact, not only not supported, but it's bad news, don't do it. So I don't want to have to say that over and over again through the night. I'm saying that at the beginning to kind of get that out of the way, so that we might then enjoy a broader conversation. What is shaman in its holistic nature? What is yoga? What is particularly Kundalini Yoga, as we've learnt it? How do they relate, and what is their distinction? And what might that mean for each of you in your life? And where do we, as human beings, place ourselves as the bridge between these different approaches? So, are we ready to go forward in that conversation? Is there anything else anybody needs to say before we move on?
No, what did you call him?
What did I call what?
I didn't quite.
Call what?
Bhajan.
Yogi Bhajan. He is the
Oh,
name
alright.
of our yoga teacher.
Yeah, I just didn't hear
Yeah.
what his name was. Alright.
Okay. So anything else? We'll make some progress, yeah? So to make it easier for you, I think, if you have a text there, I've made a little table, and again, not saying it's perfect, but it begins to help to set out some of the distinctions, yeah? And
I mean,
you
the
can ask
idea is
questions
that
along the way.
the idea is that you're more conscious of your choice and your alignment and your integrity and how you proceed, given the choices you face, and what is more congruent with your destiny, really.
You might be familiar with some of these terms from yoga. Prakriti and Purusha is a contrast in yoga. Prakriti is the nature, the world of manifest nature, and Purusha implies the being, literal meaning the being. So the sense of
Formless spirit.
formless spirit, which is prior to and beyond manifestation. Yeah? Kudrat is just another term for nature. Anybody read Japji?
Yes.
Yeah, some of you, is a line there. Kudrat kavan kaha vichar, bhari and the jal echo. Kudrat kavan, what can I say about your nature? So many species, so much glory, so much diversity. Who can say how great that is? Shakti, implying feminine power, and Shiva, creative and the creation, and Shiva also not Shiva as in Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, that trinity, but Shiva in the contrast to Shakti, again, is just another term for the being that remains in some kind of. The symbolism is like Shiva always just sitting on the mountain in his cave meditating, and the feminine is the dance of nature. Yeah, so there's a contrast. Yeah, and so why have we put that in that column? Yeah, now, shaman, not in any limited sense of the word, but in its broad sense, is a practice which very much relates to nature and identifies the spirit in nature. And in the Sikh tradition and in Kundalini Yoga, there's many different types of yoga, so we have to speak specifically about Kundalini Yoga. We do recognize God in the manifest, not only God as something beyond, but we see God in all. So it's in everybody, it's in everything, but shamanism especially is a conscious, intentional work with the spirit in the world. Yeah? And the tendency of the yogi is has been renouncing and sitting up on the mountain and meditating on the transcendent spirit rather than the manifest spirit. Yeah? Other terms there, sargun, nirgun. Guna means a quality. So you might have heard of the three gunas, Tama, Raja and Sattva, the three gunas. And so sargun, the nature has all qualities, and the transcendent sense of spirit is a nirgun without any qualities. So another expression that came up in our conversation the other day I thought was interesting is the nature of the planet is it's a horizontal world. Yeah, we move across it horizontally. We walk through the forest, we walk through the park, we walk on the street. Even if you get in an air balloon or airplane, at the end of the day, you're going to move horizontally. So whereas the kind of renouncing practice of religion or yoga tends to be tuning into something in a vertical sense, okay? Transcendent, elevated, up, away, kind of thing, whereas the shaman is here on earth, going across on the horizontal. Using the world, calling on the earth, and the tendency in yoga, call on the heavens. So Father Sky, you might have heard that expression, Mother Earth, Father Sky, comes up into that, yeah? The law on the earth is a law of cause and effect. Okay, so all those different practices that Satya mentioned, medicinal practices across the planet, basically is, this herb will do that for you. You have that problem, you should need to take this medicine to that proportion and that frequency and for that number of days. Come back and tell me how you're doing, we'll have a checkup. Yeah, so it's cause and effect. Understanding the quality of the spirit as it is distinct in each species. And what is its intelligence, what is its properties, how any herb, any plant can be a poison or medicine, depending on what is the need and what is the proportion, and so on. Yeah? So, cause and effect. And yoga tendency is to think of, I'm a spirit having a human experience, I have come, I will go, and I've got karma to work out, and I need to clear all that so that I can go home and not have to come back, kind of thing. So it's again the idea of transcending and going beyond. So the law of coming and going is something the yogi tends to focus on, and the shaman is working with the spirit on earth and looking at cause and effect. So it's an interesting contrast. So even in the yoga there is the tradition of Ayurveda, and the yogis did not just sit in caves, they sat in forests, they immersed themselves in nature, they understood and they found out things like the nadis and the meridians and the chakras and understanding our nature and nature as a reflection of our nature. So for the yogi, the elements were something that were reflecting in self, and that became called the tattvas. I have 5 elements in me, they're associated to my 5 senses. My mind gets attracted through these 5 senses into the Maya, and that's called the 5 passions or the 5 thieves: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and pride. My mind gets drawn into that, and I'm practicing to get out of that attachment, out of that identification with the world, and set myself free, liberate myself. Whereas actually, Ayurveda and Shamanism wants to get to know the elements around you and how they interchange. Like Chinese medicine, you might have seen the pentangle, the 5 elements and how they interact, and then how nature is teaching us how those elements work so that we can then relate to them for the purpose of healing and harmonizing with nature. And harmonizing with nature actually leads to harmonization with also the transcendent. Yes?
It's interesting to notice that even the yogis of old always immersed themselves in nature. They were nature's friends, and they relied entirely on the power and inspiration of the elements, the plants, the stones, the weather, to kind of exalt them and help them to become more true and more themselves. Okay. It's just a recent trend, I'm talking about the last 30 years or so, where yoga started becoming practiced in studios. Even in the 70s, when I first learned yoga, the idea, you must do yoga in front of an open window. If you can't be outside to do yoga, at least do it in front of an open window. And it's just recently that it's become very artificial, plastic yoga mats, let's wear lycra, let's, turn up the heat in the room so we sweat, all this kind of thing. It's very modern inventions and additions, okay?
And then fashion, where you got yoga in airplanes, or aqua yoga, or tree yoga, or all these kind of things. So yoga based on somebody's name, you know.
Chocolate yoga.
And chocolate yoga.
Whiskey yoga.
That's coming.
Goat yoga.
Which one?
Goat yoga.
Yeah.
Boat yoga.
Goat.
And boat. Do yoga in boats.
Okay, but this is all trendy stuff, and that just shows you how yoga can
Becoming
equally
alienated from the
become
source.
alienating as much as the practice of use of very specific psychotropic plant medicine out of context and in isolation of a lifestyle that is healthy and fully supports and harmonizes your relationship with nature. Each one can go off on tangent and become very out of balance.
Yeah, you were talking about boat yoga, and that was out of context too, but then you're actually close to an element, the water is one of the
Well,
elements.
depends on the boat,
Yeah,
who's teaching and how to teach.
I don't know, I
what
think
they
it
do on
would be
the boat.
nice.
That's what they do on the boat.
I think it's not because of the.
That's not the
It's
reason
just
why
yoga
they're
is
doing it on the
added
boat.
to the cruise, you know?
Yeah,
Exactly. It's a
yes,
cruise.
It's
yes.
depending on the
Yeah.
boat because
Yeah.
of the cruise.
So if you're in the float,
With an
then you're
artificial
okay.
swimming pool and internal gym, inbuilt gym.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Shaman, devoted and acquainted with nature and skilled in the use of the natural outer world. Yogi, devoted and acquainted with spirit and skilled in controlling the inner world, knowing your inner dynamics and being able to move your energy through your left and right channels, we call it Pingala, bringing that into the central channel, called Sushmana, and moving the Kundalini through your chakras to the crown, opening the 10th gate, controlling the loss of energy out through the 9 holes of the body to open up the secret hole, and so on. Yeah, this is a yogic practice of internal dynamics and controlling of what's going on in you, and the shaman is working on, and employed in magic, yeah, not just knowing about, but actually being able to using it in such a way. So it's also a control practice, actually, to set up the scene, set up the ceremony, choose the rhythm of the drums, whatever items need to be there, preparation of the individuals involved. It's a ritual and a ceremony. It's design. It's not just let's just sit in a tree. Let nature be as nature is. No, engaging and using it. And we're not saying for right or wrong. Magic can be black magic. Magic can be white magic. So there's man-made magic and there's the magic that made man. So many levels to these things. Each path can become distorted and corrupt, actually extremely easily. We'd even go as far as to say, and we're not claiming ourselves anything personally, but the true way in any of these paths is probably quite rare, actually. We all have a tendency to be a little bit off, one way or the other, and to fashion, I'm a yoga teacher, but how much am I busy with my style, my fashion, my recitation, or how much am I busy with, did I deliver the teaching? Did you get the message? Did you get the experience you came for? Where's my focus? It's so, the mind is quick. And in any direct, whichever path we take, it's not a question of there's a problem with shamanism, or there's a problem with yoga, or there's a problem with Chinese medicine, or the problem with anything. It's our mind, actually, that is quick and distorts and isolates, categorizes, and starts to manipulate. And then for what purpose? And often, unfortunately, we start out with good intention. You might have heard that phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So it's not, intention is not enough. Are you actually conscious of the consequence of the entire sequence? You set out to help somebody, and maybe later on down the line you realize that actually you interfered and your interference was not enough. So do you really know what you're doing? Yeah?
I'm just wondering why do the both of you have your personal experience by sitting, for example, as you say, during ceremonies in context?
In context, what do you mean?
For example, traveling into the jungle, staying with the tribe, participating in the rituals and stuff like that.
I wouldn't want to do that unless I was actually going to stay there and settle down there.
Okay.
I'm not going to do a tourist trip to the jungle.
We're not searching.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why would you go to another culture,
We're
another
searching.
country to look for something? What am I looking for? I go somewhere to teach. I
Yeah.
don't go somewhere to.
Yeah, I was just curious because when you say that, it tends to be from lower and earthly realms, and that they're not like, or that you're connecting with the higher realms. I would say, like, for me, in my personal experience, when you sit with a tribe and doing the rituals and stuff like that, they're actually connecting with the higher realms as well. And they're also using many of the same things that we do in yoga, like going inside and a lot of breathing and stuff like that. So for me, that's why I was curious, because I was wondering if you were basing this side on the personal experience or just by talking with other, or what's it based on?
I've heard very contrasting accounts.
Okay.
From that, and I hear you, and I acknowledge that fully. But that also may depend on where you are.
Yeah, of course.
And there are would-be shamans hanging around on the borders of various towns in South America, waiting to catch the tourist and bring you into the nice illusion of the genuine jungle experience, and they're after your money and maybe even your body. They're not necessarily heaven and
No,
earth.
you have both us in yoga as well.
And the same will happen if
Yeah.
you go to India. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think, I was on my way to India at a certain point, and then I saw a lot of people on their way back from India when I was kind of halfway there. And when I saw them on their way back, I thought, am I going to end up like that? And I said, I don't need to go there. And so I turned back, actually. And in some way, I think yoga came to me. I didn't go to it. And maybe South America came to somebody, and that's fine. Remember, we're not saying any of it's wrong or right, but I appreciate there's a limit to what we put here, and that there are contexts where yogis are very in harmony with heaven and earth, as Santa described, not all done in studios, and where people who live a shamanistic lifestyle also are in the contact of that. But I think there's nonetheless some important indications also here. Thank you. Okay, please feel free to raise questions or share anything. Yeah? As we go on, yeah?
I just say something. I noticed that you put Ayurvedic here on the right-hand column. I would not put it here. I would have put Ayurveda on the left-hand column. Ayurveda is an organized form of shamanism. It's not a yogic practice.
Although yogis do it.
Yogis
It's common
think,
to
oh,
do
it's
yoga.
Indian, it's yogic, it's the same. It actually comes from, yes.
From some of my understanding in certain things I've read, as well as the yogic tradition, also have their outspring from shamanism, or they are closely related from when they were living in the forest. And
Yes.
I find it so interesting that we are trying to separate it so much.
Hold
Something
on
that
a
is-
second. Sorry.
Yes.
If you will go back far enough, which is not easy to get records of, go back far enough. Yogic practices were actually integrated in society, pre-Vedic. Okay. When the Vedas were written and corrupted, and taken to imply some things like the caste system, okay, and the four castes and the Brahmin priestly class, which became male, very patriarchal, came to be the superior rulers of the society. The yogis were very unwelcome because they were sharing practices that empowered people and that challenged that system of inequalities. And it's only from that time that the yogis actually decided we're not going to abandon our practices and we're not welcome in the villages, we'll take it to the jungle. And they went to the jungle. Society, prior to that, was very integrated with yoga, with the earth, with the heavens, as you might describe, in a tribal region in some part of the world. So it was the case. It's what yoga has become. What shamanism is also in danger of becoming. This is a separate. And we're not separating for the purpose of only separating. I'm sorry I interrupted that last point you were saying.
Oh, it's okay.
We're doing this to want to look at also where the bridge is.
Yes.
I did say that at the beginning, so I'd like to remind you of that. Yeah? Identifying some distinctions in order to improve the relationship. That's our orientation. Okay? Thank you for that.
And I just wanted to remind that yoga was brought to people by Ma Parvati, yeah, who asked Shiva to help humanity to end
Yeah.
suffering. So it was made for people, like people saying.
Yeah, this is another thing. Again, it's a question of terminology. That if I think shaman, I tend to think of a healer, a priest, a witch doctor, somebody at the end of the village who has their skills, who's been trained, who's been initiated, and anybody from the village who has a need may go to the shaman, and the shaman will determine the situation. And then one of several things may happen, may give you the prescription, as in yoga, we tend to tell you need to do this Kriya or this meditation, or the Ayurvedic doctor might say, this is your prescribed diet. Or he or she may take on the role, as any healer might do, and tell you, lie down and I'm going to do a treatment. And it may involve certain items, it might involve hands-on, it might involve, there's all different types of healing where it's done to you. And so, if you take just a very general definition of what is a shaman, any healer here who invites you, come in, lie on the bed, and moves around you, whether they're ringing gongs or crystal bowls or putting stones and crystals on your chakras or whatever else they may be doing around you, they're doing a kind of shamanistic work to the basic dictionary definition of a shaman. Okay, this has nothing to do with being out in nature, actually. It's just a practice of magic that can serve a healing. Okay, if I think yogi or yogini, I'm not thinking of one rare individual at the end of the village, but that's because of our tradition of Kundalini Yoga. I'm thinking everybody in the village can be practicing yoga and enjoying its benefits. I'm not saying there's right or wrong, it's a different thinking. And so I'm a shaman and I live a shamanistic life. What? Where? How? That's just a question that comes to me. What? Well, you're not in the tribes, the jungle, so I don't understand. I practice shamanism, meaning I heal people through shamanic practice. Oh, I understand.
There's a couple of questions
Yeah?
What about energy healing?
Energy healing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of different types of energy healing.
Yeah,
That's too general a term.
Yes, okay.
Does it mean I'm doing it to somebody?
Yes.
Because I can do energy healing with myself.
Yeah.
That's yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
A
I just
healer,
wanted your point.
shaman,
Yeah.
therapist, whatever, is going to do energy healing for you.
Mm.
And that's good. A lot of people are not ready to take on their own personal practice until maybe some years of, first of all, compassionate healing. And work through whichever forms of intervention it may be until they feel strong enough and ready enough to sit up off the therapy table and say, oh, is this something I could be doing to help myself? And the therapist is saying, like, I've been waiting for you to ask that question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yes, there's something you can do. Yeah? And then you take more responsibility for yourself. We're talking about these things in the modern terms, in the modern life. And I think that's also important to think of context. I appreciate very much what you said. If you want to, I want to live like the shaman, then go to the jungle. I want to offer shamanistic services to people. I hope you're well trained. I hope you have a good mentor, and you can, know what you're doing, and you have a clear lineage behind you, and that yes, offer that service. And who knows, I might be one of your clients. That's a different thing. Okay, but let's put things in the right context. Yeah. Okay. Another question? Yeah.
Is there any known shamanic healing?
authentic.
Oh, sure.
What was the question?
Every time
I
I
didn't
hear
hear
about
you.
shaman, all we hear about men.
It's shaman sounds
Yes,
like
you're right.
shaman,
Yeah,
but actually we have many male and female shamans.
Absolutely. All the way throughout the history. Yeah. But they were not all called shamans, and they would not call themselves shaman. It's a term, like I said, originated in the 1600s in Siberia, reference to male-female practitioners there, and it gradually got taken over and referred to, whether it was Aborigine witch doctor or some practitioner in the Peruvian jungle, whatever. Oh, he's a shaman, she's a shaman. But that's a Western allocation of the term, and the South American practitioner is going to say, "Oh, that's cool. I will be known in the West if I will take on that label. Yes, I'm a shaman." But actually, if you go back to the indigenous language and ask themselves, "What do you call yourself?" I'm sorry, I don't know the name. No, but it would not be shaman.
Curanderos.
Okay?
Curanderos means healer.
Healer. They would not be called shaman. We're calling them shamans. Some of them are calling themselves shamans because that's what we call them. But it's not what they call themselves.
Yeah, we've given them the label.
Thank you. The healer.
Let's remember that even here in Europe, we have
There were
a
healers.
lot of healers
Exactly.
related to nature with the knowledge of herbs and spirits.
And some of them were burnt at the stake.
Not here in Norway, actually.
Yeah.
In
These were the
Norway,
people
there's a
that they
lot
were
of
burning
witches.
in the Middle Ages. Yeah. The healers. And they were feminine. Yeah. You can have black witch, white witch. Yeah, same. Okay, is there anything else?
I guess they weren't called shamans, they were called witches, right?
Sorry?
I guess they were called witches, not shamans.
Exactly. They may not have called themselves witches.
No, I believe not.
Also,
Probably just,
but they were called
hooligans or
witches.
something.
Yeah. Okay, let's briefly go to that where things can go a little bit wrong. It's already begun to be indicated, but on that side of working with the world around me, that can become over-identification, over-attachment, and over-dependence on the environment, and that has many different forms. And as Sati was describing that to me, that even made me think of it goes to quite the other side of the scale of something like intensive farming. I'm controlling the earth, I do my magic on the earth, I do fertilizing, and I do this and I do that, and I get what I want to get from the earth. It's a magic of kinds, but it's become a very corrupt form, so it's no longer a healer at work, but it's an abuse of rather than a healthy relationship to and use of nature. Okay? Whereas the yogi can get into this aloof and detached rather than non-attached. I think there's an important contrast there. A detached relationship, unsensitive to the horizontal, too much in the vertical. I see it. A lot of young people come in, want to do teacher trainings. I just want to meditate. I just wish I could just sit on a mountain and meditate. I don't want to have to work and earn money. And do you have any advice for me? And I say, yeah, get a job, get married, have children, live a life, come back in 20 years. The human is a yoga, living the human social world is a true yoga. So, but there's a danger of yoga wanting to be used as an escapism. When I did go to India finally, I found out that a lot of these so-called yogis and sadhus are just glorified hippies that want to kind of step out of mainstream society. Glorified beggars in a way, really. Just what a good excuse that I can step out of society. Here we call them the rainbow kids or the hippies. Over there they're called sadhus and yogis. But actually, they're the same. Because they're, young people who just want to have dreadlocks and live in the forest. Well, I know people in France like that. I know people in India like that. It's just a easy way out kind of thing. These are the dangers, yeah? Sati spoke about the yoga studio kind of phenomena, and
Very sterile,
yeah,
very artificial. very self-centered, hypersensitive. The stereotype yogi. My image, my
lost in
experience,
process.
my visualizations, my stretches. It becomes
Either lost in space or lost in process. I'm in my process. I'm in my process. I'm in my process. Yeah? Endless process. It happens, right?
It's quite common.
It's extremely common. No, we're as worried about the yogis as we are about these ayahuasca parties. They both concern us. Actually, we see people getting very lost in both directions. It's a huge challenge to really hold that bridge together, keep it real. Yeah? It's a huge challenge. So, okay, taking plant medicine out of context, we've already implied that, without full immersion in the nature and the lifestyle. Okay. The reliance on external substances to feel good. Yeah. Yoga is absolutely trying to guide you. You can self-generate. You can change your own chemistry. You can change your own perception and your experience. Now, I've taken many substances. I'm not denying that, and I know the different perceptions of reality you can have in doing so, and I don't regret any of it. It doesn't mean I would recommend it to anybody either, because I'm also treating people with marijuana psychosis and other kind of things. What you don't realize is you have a kind of a trigger system in you. I'll use marijuana as an example, right? It's got a lot of toxins in it, okay? And what happens is, and heavy metals included, they accumulate in your back brain, okay? You have different levels, yeah? Primal brain, back brain, the central area, which is more emotional charge, and the neocortex, we call it, the frontal lobes, okay? And different parts do different functions. And also biochemical, not only for the mind, consciousness, but also for your body chemistry. So in the back brain, what happens is there's an accumulation of the toxins, and you don't know it's happening. Okay, the immediate substances that is triggering your experience is in your blood and affecting your neurons and your glands, and then that kind of washes out of the system, but there's left some residue. You understand what that means, right? You have a party at the beach, and then you look at the beach, the morning after, there's a lot of residue left around. So the same thing going on inside. Party's over, experience is over, you've got your morning hangover, whatever, but, there's something still left, some mess that's not being cleaned up, okay? And that accumulates in your back brain, and everybody has a different trigger point. Just like alcohol, somebody says, oh, I can handle my drink, and they take one more whiskey, and they fall on the floor. Somebody else can continue until the whole bottle is empty, and you'd hardly know they're drunk. You know what I mean? Each person has different tolerance rate. This is the same with any substance you take that has major mood altering and mind altering kind of effect on you. It leaves a residue. Okay? And what you don't know about yourself, because we hardly have enough awareness of our inner system, you don't know when the scales will suddenly tip, right? When just one more became one too much. What is a marijuana psychosis? Exactly that. Yeah, the toxicity level went over that which your system could handle. It triggers, you know what I mean? It triggers a whole, like a domino effect. Yeah, suddenly a chain of other things start happening, and anybody who's had that will tell you that it might be the whole life you're now at risk. It's not something that you can easily rebalance. That's the problem. When somebody's gone over the edge, by whatever means, okay? I'm not talking especially about psychotropic means. Anybody who's used these substances to have, altered perceptions of reality, tip the scales for that individual or that individual, and it might be a lifetime where you don't recover fully from it. The chain effect in your psyche. It can blow neurons, it can destroy your nervous system, you may never get the balance back. There are different cases, but that's the risk you take when you take these things in doses that were not. That's the other thing that people do. They take them in doses that are not according to the measure. If you go to the tribes, it's a whole different phenomenon in terms of how it's done, how often it's done, who gets to take it. It's not like everybody in the village gets it. You know what I mean as well? Okay? There's a whole dynamic around it. What people do is every Saturday night, California party. Yeah? This is absolutely deadly.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, can it really be that toxic if it's helped so many people? Because you have like medical marijuana and stuff, and I get that like a shabby dude selling it to you. It's like, oh no thanks, but it's like legal in America now, and it's proven that it's actually helped a lot of people. So
Alcohol is legal, and it kills a lot of people. Tobacco is legal, it kills a lot of people.
Yeah,
marijuana can be legal, but it can also give you throat cancer.
Yeah, but that's more of the smoke. And alcohol's legal, but it's not used medically. And marijuana is used medically. Alcohol is used medically. So just like, oh, you should drink like...
No, but just to get out of this drugs and stuff like that, everything in excess is dangerous.
Yeah.
Just do it moderately.
Everything can be used medically, everything can be toxic. And as we say, what is medicine for one can be toxic for another. Somebody may have some serious pain and they start to take the marijuana resin to ease their pain, and it's very helpful for them, and it relaxes them, and what a mercy, how great. But there may be somebody who's taking that resin for whom, because of other balances in their constitution, their consequence may be detrimental over a period of time. Like if you take any tranquilizers or antidepressants, there's a certain time at which your body becomes tolerant to that, and you'll go to the doctor and say, could you please raise my prescription because I'm getting depressed again. Doctor will raise your prescription. After 2 to 3 years, your tolerance level will rise. There's a certain point when you're going to go to the doctor and say, I need more. Doctor's going to say, any more would kill you. And it doesn't matter how much more you would take, nothing works anymore because you've exhausted it. So everything has its limit. And that limit depends on various factors, including individual constitution. So I'm not qualified to go and recommend to anybody, oh, you have that condition? Well, marijuana is legal now in California, why don't you go there and take it? Because I'm not the one to tell you what level your brain is going to trigger and start off that chain of events you may never recover from. Yes, it's all potentially medicine. But do you know what you're dealing with? People have died from going to Peru and taking these medicines. Tell me anybody who died from yoga. There's got to be a line somewhere.
Could I just add something? I think if it is so potential to be healing, I mean, it's quite logic that there's also really potential to be really harming. I guess that would maybe connect at least it does to me. To add on.
Yes, some plants, substances have the potential to heal, but have also the potential to harm you.
Absolutely. If you go picking mushrooms, there was 2 people in Portugal 2 years ago, a father and son. They died because they picked some mushrooms, cooked it for dinner. It was a poisonous mushroom. Yeah. Anything can be kill you.
I know a bunch of people who have pretty much lost their minds practicing yoga, perhaps the wrong way, and perhaps misunderstanding or misinterpreting or going about
a bunch,
the wrong way.
Like a bunch of people. That sounds
like but like a bunch of people. When I started practicing yoga at Eight Treasures Yoga, which is a great studio, or was a great studio, and had a lot of very, very good insight, but also very deep teachings. And people were not ready for those teachings, or misunderstanding them, and some people pretty much lost their minds and had to take years of recovery to come back. So, I mean, it could happen with yoga too. So
yes, I agree.
I mean,
were they only practicing pure yoga? Were they not doing anything else on the side?
Yeah, as far as I know, but I'm not I don't know them to the personal depth that I can check on them at home.
This is one thing I respect about Kundalini Yoga. Somebody who talked to me today about certain condition problem they're having, and they do yoga, and I had to ask, I said, do you do chanting? Oh, when I feel anxious, I do chanting. I said, no. If you're practicing Kundalini Yoga, you need to chant every day. Whenever you do the yoga, you've got to do chanting. It's a balance to the energy of what you move around. I know it. I know people in London. Oh, I love the yoga. I want to do 3 Kriyas a day. So do you chant? Do you meditate? Do you take a walk in the park? No, I just want to do Kriyas. It's dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. I acknowledge that fully. Rightly practiced in the right context, in a holistic way, anything can be done well. Yeah, everything and anything. Yeah, walking out on the street, you can get run over by a bus because you didn't look left and right. Walk out on the street and look left and right, you have a greater chance of surviving. So all of these things, basically, if you're conscious and it's integrated and whole. And another thing I think you're pointing at, not explicitly, but that the teachers should know what they're doing.
Definitely. But I mean, in the same way as a shaman needs to know what he's doing, if he's going to bring that about to other people, it's the same thing in the yoga context.
Anybody who's guiding these practices has a huge responsibility, yeah? Whoever's guiding these things has a big responsibility and needs to know.
Well, the practitioner has the most responsibility.
Sorry?
The practitioner, I take care of myself.
Yes.
You all should take care of yourself. You should take care of your body. You should think about what you're doing before you do it.
That's the sad thing. There's a lot of naive and gullible people in the world, and there's a lot of people ready to take advantage of that in all fields.
And the yoga practice has to go together with the lifestyle and the teachings of humanology. So, for example, yoga practice, we say never more than 2.5 hours a day. And those 2.5 hours, 1 hour maximum is physical yoga practice. The rest should be meditation practice and chanting. So if you're doing anything outside of that, you're playing with fire. You're responsible for your own experience. This is the guideline. You can follow it and it'll be a sustainable practice. You want to experiment, you want to extend it, you want super experience, then be responsible for it.
This is a phenomenon that's happening in these current times we live in. Some of you may know about this transition. Piscean age to Aquarian age kind of talk, whatever you want to call it. We know that we're in transition and there's a lot of chaos and confusion around. One of the things that goes with this transition is, even if they won't take it as the gentleman said, hey, I'm responsible for me. I take my responsibility. I need to listen to my body, mind and heart and check in. Is this appropriate for me? Rather than that sense of responsibility, what people do instead is, it's a time of independence and freedom, so I want to make my choice. I make my own pick and mix cocktail, and I'm free because this is the age we live in. And so on the one side, there's good news that there's a lot more freedom. We're less controlled by the priests of religion and politics and whatever else it may be. And so therefore, also as teachers, I find actually, on the one hand, I have a responsibility, but I also notice that whatever I might say to somebody, they go home and do whatever they want to do. Actually, and it's all available. You can go on the internet, you can buy a book, you can sit at home and believe you're super cool doing your trip. And it's you're massively ill-informed, and there's nobody there to mentor and guide you. It's the age we live in. You wanted your freedom, you've got it, but you've got a huge risk factor with it. You understand? Your souls have been begging for this freedom for centuries in some way. Break out of that system that tells you this is the way, and you grow up believing that, and even if nobody was watching you, you would be scared to step off the line because you think God is watching, Now, God is everywhere, God is everything, God is nothing. What is God? I am God, I can do what I like. It's a free world, leave me alone. And so you asked for that freedom. But you
just
take
a practical question regarding the guidelines of 2.5 hours. So it's in Kundalini Yoga practice, for instance, doing long Ekram card for 2.5 hours. Yeah. Should you then not do a physical practice because you've done your 2.5 hours? Is that what you're saying?
2.5 hours meditation as a spiritual practice, yes.
Yeah, because you said there's a limit to, you should not do more than 2.5 hours, as I understood it. I'm just checking if I understood you right.
Spiritual practice.
Should not be more exceed 2.5. So if you decide to do the long...
1/10 of your day.
Yeah, I know. So if you, or I'm really sorry. So if I understand you, if you choose to go on the path of doing a 2.5 hour long chat, you're not doing any kriyas or anything else.
You should do some physical exercise. go
but not
jogging
yoga.
or swimming, into stretches, by all means, yes.
But she's talking about
And
Kriya.
yeah,
Do another
because
Kriya?
I'm still it's not clear to me. I'm
You
sorry.
want to do a Kriya on top of the 2.5 hour
Hour.
Kriya.
Yeah, for example, how I understood it is that the spiritual practice should not exceed 2.5 hours, period. That's how I
So
understood
that your
it.
life is balanced.
Yes.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Okay, because you're going to sit for 2.5 hours. You could do a short warm-up. You know what the basic warm-ups
Yeah.
are for your spine, leg
Yeah.
stretch, for 5 to 15 minutes, so that you can sit and remain in your position for your 2.5 hours.
Mhm.
The rest of the day, like anybody, you might go cycle riding, walk in the park, jogging, swimming, anything, but it's
Not
not
asana.
a dedicated spiritual practice. We're talking about dedicated
Yeah,
spiritual
That's
practice,
how I understood it.
2.5 hours.
But I was so yeah. Okay, thank you.
Don't do a Kriya and 2.5 hours of long Iyengar. You are going off the balance.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
But we could do that on a festival. I mean, there's like 4 Kriyas a day or something. So that would
Well,
be a long
it's available. It's available. If you go and do it all, that's your responsibility.
Right, so
Everything's
you would not do
available.
it.
Huh?
You would not do that.
Of course not.
Not at all.
No.
That's not, of course, for us.
No, that's why you're asking and we're
Yes.
communicating to you. Be selective. Whenever you go to this kind of special festival programs, of course, everything's on tap, you know, it's all there on offer, yeah? But, you know, somebody come to the ashram and said, feedback at the end of their 5 days of the ashram, right? Oh, it was too much food. I said, well, hold on, why did you eat it? Yeah? You don't tell us we provided too much. Why are you not responsible for how much you put on your plate? Okay, so if you go to any of these festivals, Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, whatever it is, everything's there on the plate, in the pots for you. But how much you take on your plate and ingest, you're responsible for that.
So,
And see how you feel afterwards. Do
Yeah.
4 Kriyas a day, see how you feel.
But I've attended like silent retreats, and we basically sit and meditate the whole day, and that's a deep spiritual practice.
It's a retreat.
Yes, it is.
It's a retreat.
Okay, no, I'm just curious because I'm
No.
an energy junkie, so it's just
Yeah,
a personal
because-
question for me.
Yeah.
It's a retreat. You
Yeah.
want to take a retreat? Any retreat you do, whatever it is, you fast for 10 days,
Yeah.
you fast for 10 days. Make sure that everything else around you at that time is also moderated
Right.
so that you're not having to carry all the everyday stresses. Do it in the right context. Go on your retreat, have your retreat. But don't come home and say, that was so cool, I'm going to sit for 6 hours every day now in my flat and to Vipassana, silence and whatever. And you go, no mantra, no... Why? What are you trying to achieve here? You need to ask yourself, what are you chasing? Why? Why are you becoming a junkie about anything?
This is interesting.
Why are you not just a self-experienced being? Yeah, just ask yourself.
Just to add, to remind, why do we do spiritual practice? To achieve more joy and juiciness in life as well, not just achieving the goal. Like, this is how it is. Like, and yes, spiritual junkie. Like, first people are drug addicts, then they become yoga addicts or ayahuasca addicts. It's like it's just the mind which
Adrenaline addicts,
yeah.
anything.
We just want more
Dangerous
excitement.
sports. We're all looking for more and more extreme phenomena.
The soul's nature is to be boundless. So it's in us to seek boundlessness, to have that experience, I guess.
You're seeking what you already are.
Yeah,
And I'll tell
in a
you
way.
something that the more you seek it, the more you lose it. You've got a torch in your hand and you're looking for the light. You are the light.
I feel like I experience it. I'm not seeking it when I do these things. I
You
experience.
can't just experience it now, here.
Yes, I am in
Yes.
contact with
I'm sorry?
boundlessness. Yes, I definitely.
You're in contact with your boundlessness.
Well, I don't know if I have a measure on it.
You what?
I don't know if I have a personal measure on it.
Measure?
but-
Boundless has no measure.
No. So am I in contact with? I think you should tell me. You're more evolved than I am. So.
I'm not evolved at all. Not at all. We're talking about you. You're a junkie, experienced junkie, energy
What?
junkie. You said it, right? Okay?
I'm an intensity junkie.
I'm sorry?
Intensity junkie, yes.
It's a what junkie?
Intensity junkie.
Intensity junkie.
Yeah.
So could you become now the intensity of yourself?
I think I am.
Not intensity. I'm sorry. You think you are? You think? You think?
Yeah, I feel my intensity.
Demonstrate your intensity of self now. Make that known to us. Make it evident to us. You're fully in the intensity of yourself. Yes?
I don't know.
Huh?
I can't experience your experience of me. I can only experience
Okay.
myself.
So you're experiencing the full intensity of yourself.
I've experienced myself
Now,
even more
today,
intense.
here. Oh, really?
I
You've been
think so.
more intense.
I think I've felt my intensity
You think.
more.
You think or you
yeah.
know? A lot of people do this.
Yeah,
I think. I want to know what you know, not what you think.
I know I can feel even more vibrant.
You could feel more vibrant. And
Yeah,
you understand
even
when you're dead, there'll be no vibrancy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Who's that then? Who are you then?
Then I'm eternal soul, maybe.
You may be the eternal soul. Do you know that eternal soul? Do you know it?
I've had
understand
experiences.
Its intensity. Do you understand the intensity of the you were before you had a mother and who you'll be
No, I don't
after you
understand
pass
that.
Mother Earth?
No.
And no, you don't. And all your trips and travels and intense experiences and retreats and everything has not given you the consciousness of your eternal self. Not infinite, eternal. Not infinite in space, boundless in space, timeless.
I definitely feel that the meditation retreats have put me in contact with my eternal. I've had brushes with it.
Little brushes with it.
Yeah.
Little brushes.
Yeah. Well, it's made me less fearful of death, by sure.
Excellent.
Yes.
Good news.
Yeah. So.
That's some profit out of it.
Yeah.
It's,
really.
No matter all the intensity you had, if you didn't get that profit of having that basic trust of your eternal self, all this intensity of experiences will mean nothing when you breathe your last breath. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
She says.
Yeah.
But let me have an intense experience.
No. It's not that. It's just feel like okay. So I didn't set out for this, but now we're here. But I definitely feel like when I do intense spiritual, like the silent retreats, I get a completely different feeling of my eternal being. Yes, but it doesn't last.
Isn't it unfortunate that it doesn't last?
Yes.
And you have to keep rushing back to your
No,
silent
not rushing
retreats?
back. I feel like it's becoming more and more alive in my
Is there nothing
everyday.
you can do in your everyday life?
Yes, that's why I'm asking about the chanting and the guidelines. That's why I asked about the guidelines.
Okay, so you're interested in being able to connect into that experience in your everyday life.
I definitely do feel I am, personally, that I am trying to connect with it.
You're trying to.
Sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't get it.
What would you like? What do you want exactly?
What would I like?
To
hang out there forever, yeah.
Hang out where?
In the connection of my boundlessness, I guess.
Where is that?
Well, when I said I had brushes.
Where is that connection to your boundlessness that you want to hang out? Where is that?
Not contemplated this at all.
You can't place it. This is most unfortunate. Exactly because you can't place it, you can't find it. Exactly because you can't find it, you're going to go running off to retreats to keep getting that connection, because there it happens. And you don't know how to sit here and find it right now, here, because you don't know where it is.
That's why I go to retreat, to learn how to connect with it.
I know that's why you go to retreats. I understand.
That's why.
I don't understand why after all the retreats you've been on and intense experiences you've had, you did not find the simple location of your authentic self. That place where you say you want to hang out. Because when you say, and this is not personal, excuse me, okay? It's not personal to her at all. I'm only doing this for everybody's sake. There's nothing between me and her at all. I really have no attachment to this, okay? I'm taking advantage.
Yeah, that's fine.
She triggered something. I'm saying, hey, you want to go there? Let's go, okay? Because I'd like to do that. I'd like to go all the way.
Yeah, so do I.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
So this is a question to everybody, yeah? As much as you've been here, been there, had this experience, had that experience, saw the cosmic matrix and all the geometry of it all and the whole beauty of it, I found all of that just sitting here with me. I didn't go anywhere. Yeah, there's nothing
Congrats.
anybody has described to me from any of their retreats, magic herbs, nothing else that I've not found that I could experience just sitting here with me in me. Nothing at all. So I'm just curious.
The retreats
With all
are
your
creating a
practices
space.
and all your chasing around and all the money you spend, how whoever was guiding you there didn't guide you to identify that location in you that you say you want to hang out in. Because when she says, I want to hang out there, she's going like, I want to hang out there. Out there?
No.
Now she says no.
Within.
But if you would look in a mirror when you say it,
Okay, maybe
you would be
my projection
shocked,
is...
actually. And look at the expression, the very words, out there. Don't you want to hang out in here? Where do you want to hang out? That's why I asked her, can you locate it? And she said no.
Yeah, but that's what
Because
she wants
it's
to find
out there. Huh?
That's what she's trying to find out. What you've got, that's what she's trying to find.
She's got it already. She needs to stop searching.
I actually know that I have it, or otherwise I wouldn't be searching.
So what do you want now? What is it you want now?
Okay, yeah, so this is a reason why I'm coming here, because I think this is a setting which creates a space where I'm closing into something.
Where you're what?
Where I'm closing in.
Closing in, that's better. I want to close in.
So
close into self.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay,
good.
so
Well
the
done.
wording.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's not just wording. God is word is God.
Yeah, that's true.
I tell you honestly, you listen to your words, because the more you repeat, I want to hang out there, you will hang out there.
This is not something I've contemplated.
I know you are not conscious of those words.
Yeah.
My job is to make it conscious.
Thank you.
So
and I'm
now,
grateful for that.
Okay?
Yeah.
I want to get in here and be within me.
Mm.
Maybe you don't. We're not saying you should.
No, definitely.
You want to hang out there? Go ahead. We told you at the beginning. We're not here to say anything is right or wrong. Not at all. Yeah?
For example, when people are in search of something, or in my opinion, it's many people, when they go, for example, for a retreat or a festival, it's because their inner self are searching for a way to express or a way to be able to connect with themselves. It's like the connection is lost.
Pause right there, yeah? Pause right there. The inner self is searching for a way to connect to inner self. Hear those words.
I'm not that good with words, but what
No,
I'm not
saying you're the wrong words, the right words. I'm asking everybody to hear those words, because they're very powerful words. They're very meaningful, what you just said. I paused you because it's so amazing what you just said. Yeah, and then you can continue. The inner self is searching for the connection to the inner self.
It's like quantum mechanics. As soon as you look at something, it transforms. So you keep that is...
Or not, because there's a whole spiritual marketplace and circus out there saying, we have what you're looking for, come to us.
Yeah.
Who says, stop, turn around, and go in there? Because what you're looking for is in there.
Yeah.
Who tells you that?
Who tells me what?
What I just said.
What I need is in here. In my meditation retreats, I definitely found that that's what they were
within
saying.
your practice, you discover. Excellent.
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of any teacher, healer, any guide, mentor, is to give you the means to find you within you.
Yeah.
Please continue.
So what I was trying to say is like, it's a part of you trying to connect back. Either
To you.
it's,
That's right.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't know where to start. And that's why we're searching. People go out and go to festivals and stuff like that.
That's right.
And sometimes at those places they will find that everything is already there and that they need to go inwards and not outwards. But
Correct.
I still think it's a good thing that you're because you're kind of conscious that you are trying to connect back.
That's not that. I wouldn't put those words in
Not
everybody's
conscious
mouth.
in that way, but like, for example,
If you go to some mind-body spiritual festival and you see a lot of people walking around in a complete hypnotic daze, and they're not kind of conscious of anything. So
could be.
I wouldn't put those words into everybody.
Yeah. And for example, let's say with plant medicine, for example, or there you will sometimes meet people that are super stressed are not happy with their life and stuff like that. Then they go into the jungle. They stay there for, it depends. Let's say they stay there half a year. And all of a sudden, they realize it's like this illusion has been taken away. And they realize that all they were searching for was there the whole time. So, in many ways, you can see that why are they searching there and there and there? It's probably because on the way they weren't able, or they could not lose the illusion. And sometimes they actually
absolutely
connect back.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And that could happen anywhere for anybody. You could be sitting in Piccadilly Circus or whatever central station you have here, and you could have a moment of self-realization. It could happen to anybody, anywhere, sometimes to somebody. Ramana, you might know of him, he went to this mountain in India, he sat there in the basement of the temple, and he just got lost in contemplation, and he had divine, cosmic encounter, beyond boundaries, etc. And then they found him, the insects were eating him. He was young teenager. They cleaned him up, took him out, helped him. He decided, I want to stay here at the feet of this mountain. This mountain is my guru. I found my enlightenment here, my realization here. And he told great stories, and he taught, and he inspired and uplifted many, many people. Now, there's like 25 ashrams hanging around there, and thousands of sadhus begging on the street, and millions of pilgrimages going there from all over the world every year for the last 50 years. And maybe one had his experience. Maybe. So, whether it's the jungle, whether it's the Ramana's mountain, whether it's the Taj Mahal or the Golden Temple in India, or whether it's the Cathedral at the Vatican, or whether it's the deserts of Africa where the fathers of the desert went into deep meditation, or the hillside where Francis Assisi had his blessing and grace came on him, etc., etc. So you know how many people go to Assisi every year? You know? Because of that happened that this guy was there and he had some bliss came on him. Yeah? How many went there? And how many had his bliss? And how many people's lives turned around? How many people had a moment of, oh yeah, I think I feel the energy, and went home and carried on, same old lifestyle. It's all fine. I want to be very clear with you. We're not saying any of it's wrong. Go for your retreats. We wouldn't be sitting here if we thought there's no point in having anybody come out from home searching anything. We wouldn't teach yoga. I go year after year for nearly 40 years to the yoga festival in France, and I teach. I understand why people are out searching. I get it, totally. And I understand that after 40 years, I don't know if even one person I actually was able to serve them, to really fundamentally find the self within the self in a life-changing manner that would, make the difference for this lifetime and all lifetimes to come. I doubt it. But it's a little offering, time after time, to sit here and offer this conversation with you. And maybe each of you, like she said, maybe each time I get a little bit closer to the me within me. It's all cool.
I find it's a science, if you call yoga or the meditation, it's all a science. And for me, it's searching for that science that, like I was asking.
And one science works for you, and one science works for somebody in the jungle.
Exactly.
There are businessmen trips coming from America to Peru every year. Every weekend, another group of businessmen come on their team-building ayahuasca trip, to the jungle, and then they go back home again, and nothing changes except they got a load of photos, and they can write in the little journal like, wow, that was intense, man. Yeah. So now, end of story.
Just a question about distractions in the society, like social media.
Yes.
Distracts you a lot, maybe from finding the self within the self. All the
and one of those distractions might just happen to serve you to suddenly stop and go, oh, wait a minute. Any of them might work.
Yeah, but
nothing is guaranteed.
What is your opinion about it? Is it better to
No opinion.
No opinion. Okay.
No opinion about any of it. They're always part of the glory of creation. No opinion about any of it. Just want you
But do you
to
think
reflect and
it
consider.
might distract some people from finding the
It does
self?
distract. The whole shopping mall, whether
Yeah.
it's the spiritual shopping mall or the everyday shopping mall and the casino and everything, it's all distraction. Yet within any of it, there might be something that catches somebody and makes them stop. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? What's going on? You understand? You could be in the supermarket buying cornflakes and have a moment of enlightenment. A moment. Then when you can integrate it and do something with that, same thing with any magical herbs and plants, anything. With yoga, you can sit in a yoga class and go, wow, that was cosmic, but can you go home and integrate that and all the implications that that has in your everyday life? That's no more likely to happen with the yoga or with the shaman trip. Only difference is yoga gives you something to take home to every day as a lifestyle. Your diet, your exercise, your hygiene, your conscious communication with your neighbors, with humanity. We're trying to look at it as a holistic approach, not something that's taken out in an isolated environment and context. Yes?
Yeah,
Question
would you
and
say it's easier to find the self within yourself if you have a daily practice, for instance?
That's the idea. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing. We don't make promises.
No, it's not
you know.
guaranteed, but it might be
There
easier.
may be more chance. Yes. Who else?
The question then.
So how do you, as a yoga teacher, go about making sure that people take the right, lack of a better word, stuff out of the teachings and apply it in a correct way in their lives in order to grow on their path? How do you, as a teacher, make sure that happens, or kind of check in?
Yeah. Well, we're not police. You know, we have to be very careful about that. That's part of the freedom scene that we live in, is that nobody's policing anybody anymore. So once somebody's come in their practice or gone through the training, you're with you. You have an option to keep in contact. There's Sangha, there's community events, there's plenty of networking going on. But if somebody chooses to opt out and go off on their own trip, we're not chasing them up. This is not our responsibility. But I think our duty is when we teach, that we teach the lifestyle that goes with it. Then we give clear guidelines in terms of 2.5 hours. We encourage the chanting of the mantras. A lot of people are, I just want the yoga, I don't want the mantra practice, I just want the physical experience, etc. And in our Dharma, our teaching, we say no, it's absolutely part of it. So it's a combination of a number of ingredients which are delivered in the teacher training that ensure it remains holistic. There's a humanology part about conscious relationships. Everything is part of it. Then the individual has to decide what they do with it. What we also offer, and I'm not saying every teacher does that, trainer, but I personally feel it's important, and the trainers we train, we encourage them to do this, is to have open conversation so that people can ask questions, so that we can get a sense of, oh, wait a minute, where did you think that from? Oh, but I thought Yogi Bhajan said. From where? Who said that? Find me the reference, so that give people a reality check on how their mind drifts off and slightly distorts the teaching. So open and healthy conversation. We have a number of online forums where people can come in with questions, share what's happening. We offer supervision and mentorship for those who ask for it. But we don't. It's not for us to chase and police people.
Also, we've created a model for living. We have an ashram in Portugal, where we demonstrate what is the balanced lifestyle that is in tune and connected to nature, outside of the urban setting, where there's a real existing community, where the Sangat, the spiritual community, is there to support each other, to elevate each other, to balance each other, and to kind of go forward together. It has a balancing effect. To be demonstrating this lifestyle and sustaining this lifestyle on your own in an urban setting is possible, but it's hard. So to choose the setting and to surround yourself with community, people who have chosen the same path and made the same commitment, is a big plus and makes the whole journey much more joyful.
So that begins to address something we said very early on. The human is the bridge between that horizontal connection into nature and the magic of nature and the spirit, embodied spirit in all the creation, and the transcendent, the vertical, elevated Father Sky, Mother Earth that we feel is the human existence, and the social, communal existence that serves as a bridge between these two things. And breath, if I may add to that, breath is also an important bridge. And which way do I mean that? Human is the one creature that can consciously choose their breathing. So breathing also gives me connectedness, attitude to the nature, because I'm breathing the world around me. At the same time, breath is a very deep inward experience because it goes into the lungs, and your lungs are huge. The kind of floor space that your lungs cover within you is a massive space. And so in the breath, you have intimacy of that inner work, inner command of your own nature within you, and sensitivity and command over the nature around you. So breath and human kind of go together. A human being is a conscious breather. The fact is, 70% or more of the human race may live 70 years of their life and never once take a conscious breath. All life may pass. And one of the few things that distinguishes you as a human being, that you can go and hold and be conscious of what you do within you in that moment of holding. Human has that capacity, and few practice it. How far are we on that road to becoming human? Our teacher Yogi Bhajan, therefore, he used the word possibly human. So we're still on the road to evolving and becoming the possibly human. And the human community and breathing is a very key part of that.
One thing I wanted to say to your question, what is it that we make sure that people don't fall off track too much? And one thing is to offer guidance, we highlight the importance of a spiritual teacher, of the idea of that, and that the student can choose somebody that he feels confident, or she feels confident with, just to check in. Am I still on track? Where am I? But that's totally voluntary.
And especially if you are going to become a teacher rather than just a practitioner, and we say teacher needs a teacher. Yeah, so that connection with the teacher is important. Thank you for adding that. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to mention my friend did some research. It was a man from Asia who ate soy, and he could handle it very well and have a good life. And then they gave the soy to a man in England. And then
Soya?
Soybeans, yes.
Soybeans.
And then he saw kidney problems. When he was eating it, he had a damage on the kidney. So I feel it's important to try to stick to the right environment and maybe some familiar stuff and eat local foods.
Absolutely.
And,
to eat local and seasonal is very important.
And always, if you try something new, maybe take a little sip first and see how you react, or take a little taste, and then maybe you can feel something. You can feel maybe I can handle this, maybe not, and maybe have some practices and how to practice the body, how to handle these new situations. Because you never know how it reacts to a new substance.
We live in a world and a marketplace where nothing is genuine, nothing is natural, nothing is simple, local or seasonal.
Almost nothing.
Really, you really have to work hard to find something that's unadulterated. And even if you think it's organic, it's pure, it's not. I've been very interfered with. Just meet some parameters.
So, the law says you only have to be 40% matching all the definition of what makes something biological or organic to be allowed to put the label organic on it.
So, yes, but to be in tune with your local natural environment, is, you're halfway there to good health, physical and mental health.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that with one little exception, because medicine is medicine and magic is magic. And so you may have had previous incarnations in China, and you may be still very connected to that and suffering some condition that is associated to that, and therefore you may need medicine from China, even if you're living locally and eating seasonally and everything else. But so just to open that magic out, that the general guideline is very clear, and many of you know maybe about macrobiotic. It's kind of
And Ayurveda.
and Ayurveda. They focus on this kind of thing, local, seasonal, etc. But although nothing right, nothing wrong. So the fact that you can get medicine from China, the fact that you can get herbs from Peru, the fact that you can do yoga in a studio, whatever. At least you're doing it. Nothing right or wrong. But anything can also go very, very wrong equally. So we're not here to say it's all messed up and none of it should be happening, but trying to get a more balanced and conscious perspective on the whole thing. Yeah. And that's challenging. We've discussed over many, many years, and we're still learning and growing and bringing in that consciousness to every facet of our lives. Yeah, so it's ongoing work. Yeah,
I think it's an aspect to local and seasonal, also especially in Scandinavia. What you get in the winter is basically almost nothing fresh. Yeah. So it's actually a blessing. Yeah, it's actually a blessing that we can get some fresh fruit from other parts of the world. Shouldn't underestimate that. Like 300 years ago, people were suffering major vitamin deprivation in the winter. So it's a balance. Yeah.
You learning how to work with the nature.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ways that we've forgotten.
Appropriate ways and ways which are detrimental. Yeah. There's ego and superego, and I'm using them in a very particular way right now, not necessarily in some particular psychological model. We need our everyday ego personality to be functional in the human world, in the social human existence. There's some teachings which are into there's no I, there's no self, there's only the one, and there's no mind, and it's all illusion, and there's no such thing as pain, etc., etc. And if you want to hang out in a monastic environment and dissolve yourself into the nothingness of the oneness, that's fine. But if you come back out of that retreat, oh, there's no I say, great, give me the keys to your car. Yeah, there's no pain. I'll slap you in the face, and you'll go, ha 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 ha. There's no pain. This is a little bit pathetic, actually, and I've seen it far too often. So there's a question of what are you deconstructing, and what are you also maintaining? Because you need a certain cocoon in order for what we call the butterfly effect. Yeah, something has to nurture and mature inside of the ego shell, the self within the self. It's not just a given. It's something that you're maturing, something you're becoming in this life. And only when that is fulfilled, as you look at nature, it breaks open from the inside, not from the outside. So we have to be careful. What are we using? External means, even teachers which come along and hammer away and I smash people's egos, one teacher says, so wait a minute, let them break it open from inside. So there's a lot of false understanding that needs to be deconstructed, false impressions of self that need to be deconstructed, but that's what I mean by superego. There's this kind of policing, judging, accusing, guilty, shaming, whatever being that is overarching you, and that is not the same as your everyday persona. Okay? So there's a danger that when you deconstruct that superego shell, if the inner self-identity ego is not strong enough to hold that space, that's where you have people ending up in hospitals, whether it's from a spiritual teacher that's smashing egos, or an excess inappropriate use of plant medicine or Vipassana retreat that deconstruct you beyond your ability to sustain and function in the everyday life. There's a balance, again, not saying any of it is wrong, just saying these are the alarm cautions, unfortunately, it's not pleasant, it's not fun to have to do this at all. I would wish I wouldn't have to do it, but I don't hear very many people standing up and saying, alarm, be careful, continue, explore, learn, research, experience, but do you understand the dangers? Do you understand where it goes very wrong and how difficult it can be to recuperate from that? Who's standing up to saying that? Nobody, because it's not cool. It's not cool to say that, whether you're talking about the yoga field or the plant medicine field, etc. It's not cool. So it's no fun, but it seems to be necessary.
Just say right now, I'm saying it.
No,
I'll
bless
just say
you.
right now, I'm
Thank
saying
you.
it right now.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
There needs to be more voice on this. It hasn't been enough because the culture has kind of exploded, you know? The yoga culture, the shaman culture, this culture, that culture, it's exploded. And so time has come for some people to raise the alarm and say, hey everybody, nothing right, nothing wrong, but there's cause and effect, and there needs to be some clarity and consciousness here, and please pay attention. And so our job in some ways to be available, let's have a conversation, and let that conversation serve you to consciousness. Okay, that's why we agreed to even have this conversation at all this evening. Otherwise we would wish not to. That each shaman should be responsible, each yoga teacher should be responsible, each of you, whatever you take home and make your own pick and mix with, you take your responsibility. But what we witness is that that's not what's happening. So it's unfortunate in some way for us to have to take the trouble to sit here, work this out, and share this with you. So now, let's conclude with a lovely meditation. Shall I tell the meaning? Yeah? Dharti hai, akasha hai, Guru Ram Das hai. Dharti means earth, the literal, material, physical earth we sit on. Dharti hai, hai meaning it is the case. Akasha implying the sky, the etheric, the regions, the above regions. This is the akasha. It is the case. Yeah? Mother Earth is the case. Father Sky is the case. Guru Ram Das, hey, is the case. We're not implying simply, although that is also the case, that there's a golden chain of the teachings of Kundalini Yoga that goes back to Guru Ram Das. We are also saying Guru Ram Das represents a consciousness of human awakening and human service. It's linked to the neutral mind. Ram means God pervading sun and moon, polarities, yeah, and also Ramaya is meaning God permeating into everything. Das means to serve that, to serve the spirit which permeates in all things. And that is the consciousness with which we've been here this evening, to honor spirit within nature, to honor the spirit in everybody, and honor the transcendent spirit. Honor the spirit in all cases. And so what we do is, with the Guru Ram Das here, we bring that into the you within you. That consciousness implied by Guru Ram Das is the case, the possible human within you. So this is what the meaning of the mantra is.
Left hand on top of the right, here, near your belly. When you chant Dharti Hai, then and you visualize the color gray, as in stone. Then you put the hands above your head and you visualize blue when you say Akasha Hai. And Guru Ram Das Hai, hands on the heart. Okay? Left, top, right on top of the left.
Left and then right, yeah.
Okay?
So should we imagine any color for the heart?
White. Brilliant white.
White, sorry.
It's not a golden white, but a brilliant white. Yeah. Close your eyes. Turn aside. Deep inhale, keep your hands on your heart. Inhale deep, hold the breath. Lift your rib cage, shoulders back. Try to feel that you can relax into the rib cage while holding with a minimum tension. Keep the posture very straight. Exhale. Deep inhale. Lift the heart high. Little gentle pressure of the hands onto the heart, shoulders back. Feel yourself converging into the rib cage, gathering, recollecting, remembering who you really are. Hold on to that focus as you exhale. And one more time, breathing in very deeply. Expand the ribcage as much as you can. Lift the heart up. Relax into the heart. You can pull your navi in a little bit, your navel point into the spine, and straighten up the spine. Hold yourself straight and steady. Keep the head up straight. Light, 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 nothing but light. You are light within yourself. And gently exhale. So recommended, that can be done any time. It's recommended to do in the evening, this meditation, to gather yourself up from the earth, from the heavens, bring you to you, and then you go to rest, having gathered yourself to yourself from your day. So that's a good recommendation. Thank you all for your questions, your sharing, for listening, and please forgive any misunderstandings or misrepresentation. No insult intended to any practice when it's done truly and correctly.
Did I misunderstand, or did you say when we started that there were some bridges where, like, shamanism?
You are the bridge. You are the bridge.
Okay.
You.
I thought you meant that there was something that were like that you could.
You.
Okay, so
all
it's just
nature
like
is,
the
all
human
nature is
bridge.
there.
Okay.
You serve the nature, it serves you to come into your harmony. And the practices of yoga develop is not to space out into spirit, but to feel you, spirit, as one spirit within the spirit. It's all serving you to be you, and you are the common ground, you are the bridge. Human. Human is between the earth and the heaven. As although you said the shamans also do heaven and the yogis also do earth, there's a tendency for modern practices to think herbs and plants and medicine and animals and spirits out there, earthly, and yoga and meditating the spirit up in the sky. And we're simply saying, however you understand it all, you are the bridge. The Egyptians knew it, yogis know it, I believe true shamans know it. Human is the bridge. Between all of it, become the authentic human, become the possible human. You are the bridge. And your breath is the greatest practice of anything. It'll give you all the experiences that you try to have through any means, because it is your connection, inside, outside, above and below, your left and right nostrils, male and female within you. Your breath, or your human conscious breath, you are the bridge. Breath of life, breath of God, it's all part of the same thing. Simple, more simple than you might have expected. Okay. Enjoy your journey, wherever it takes you.
Thank you.